What's up, everybody? It's your boy DP. We have a special guest on the Listen to DP podcast. I got my newest brand athlete, Mr. Jeff Clayton. He has literally just become the number one catcher in the state of Texas, number 10 overall in the nation. He's an Ohio State commit. He's also a guy that's draft worthy, and we're trying to increase that draft stock to go to the MLB straight out of high school. But we got a great conversation for you today. It's more around business. And my job today and our conversation today is to talk through how to become rich and to stay rich, because we know it's a big, big problem for many athletes as far as, making a lot of money, but not being able to keep the money, right? Not being able to grow the money and protect the money. So what we wanted to talk about was how do we become rich, and how more importantly, do we stay rich and continue to grow that money? So thank you for joining me today, Jeff. Not only are we happy about doing this, but we're excited about having you as our newest brand athlete. And thank you for jumping on. And we're going to get right into it. The reason why I was able to connect with Jeff so quickly wasn't because of what he did on the field. I seen the accolades, this and that. When I talked to him, Jeff shared my passion for growing businesses, getting into business, being an entrepreneur. And once he told me that, I was like, we have to do something bigger off the field. So Jeff has his own batting, hitting, fielding, catching instruction. Obviously, like I said, he's the number one catcher in Texas, so he knows something about the position. But we'll jump straight in. How did that start? Let's start the story of you wanted to make money for acting, modeling, got into eventually to the catching, but kind of give the backstory of how all that, generated.
So it honestly started with very young. I've always been instilled with a hard work ethic. My dad grew up in South America as a semi-professional soccer player, and my mom was the equipment manager for Kentucky baseball, right? Sports has been bred in my background. That hard work has always been a part instilled of me. So it was really early on when I was younger. I used to live in Florida, and I was actually a soccer player, and I was training for, I think it was like Liverpool's club. And when I was like all the way to 6 years old, move over to Texas, ended up trying out baseball. Ended up like just happening naturally. Like, turns out I had an amazing arm. I could swing it pretty well for a 7-year-old never playing baseball before. So that's honestly just kind of started there. And then it wasn't until I was 9. So what ended up happening was I was actually an outfielder, but our catcher, he got hit, right? He wasn't being tough. So what does that mean? He wanted to be a little baby, get out of catching. So coach says, anyone volunteer to be a catcher? No one raised their hand except me. And little did I know that very moment from 9 years old of me raising my hand would lead me to where I am now in life, right? It was that moment where I gritted out through all the errors, the trials, everything that turns me into not just the baseball player, but the man I am now today, right? Being a catcher is explicitly has so many real life values as being a man and being a future husband, being a future entrepreneur, and being successful in life. So then we fast forward all the way to about junior year, right? Junior year is when college can start recruiting. I had a really good sophomore summer circuit, really good future games, which is this big baseball event where I end up getting 20 D1 offers just from that one event. I have the best pop time in the country, and I showcased it, right? I threw out six runners. 2 of the runners were the top 2 fastest players in the country, right? I'm not going to name names, but one's currently in LSU and a Vanderbilt commit, right? They were dudes. So ended up getting my top offers from there. And then I ended up narrowing it down to 5, which was Ohio State, Kansas State, Arizona State, DBU, and Texas Tech. Took a visit to Ohio State, Kansas State, and Arizona State. And people ask me, why did you choose Ohio State, the school up north where it's so cold? And honestly, it's the coaches. The coaches I just bonded with so much, right? They came from Campbell, a top 25 program for the past 8 years before they wrapped at Ohio State, and they were mid-majors. They had no money. So now they went to a school with a lot more money with Ohio State, and now they want to see what they can do with that, right? They already know how to win. They're great people. They're God-loving. I remember this is when I knew this is the place where I want to be, was actually this past fall on my second time going up there. The coach stopped everything. He made all of us pray, right? Right before anything happened. And this was like a meet and group of all the families. All the families were here. All the players were here. He didn't talk about his program. He didn't talk about eating. He didn't talk about the weight room. He didn't talk about his kids. He talked about God. He prayed, and he had his wife also pray too, right? And that's where I knew that's where I wanted to be, right? So then we go on a little bit farther to around mid-October, right? So I actually had a terrible arm injury to where I ended up getting a blood clot in my right arm. And this is right before the biggest tournament of my life, Jupiter. If you're a baseball player, you know how important Jupiter is, right? You know how important it is to do good there. And the reason why I got a blood clot is because actually about in September, I ended up breaking my jaw. So how that happened was I was playing first base after catching the first game. A runner ran into me and ended up fracturing my jaw when I was playing first base. The impact was so bad, I actually dislocated his shoulder. So I fractured my jaw, and this was up in Chicago. So I was up in Chicago for a week without no parents because my parents were down in Texas, and I was just up there. So my mom ended up flying on the third day when she can. She got the earliest plane ticket. So she went up there. I had my surgery. Surgery was botched a couple times, right? I had to have additional three reconstructive surgeries from this surgery because it was botched, because it was such a complicated injury and how my teeth alignment were and how bad my face just was. So, and this is when I knew, and this is when I can confidently say I'm tough, right? During that hospital, as that day when I got out of surgery, because I've been working this whole entire summer on looking good, trying to stay fit. That day I was in my hospital bed doing sit-ups. Literally that day after surgery, being on Oxy, being on all the drugs, being high as a kite. I was doing sit-ups, right? Because I wanted it bad and I'm tough. So the doctor said, I'm done for like 6 to 8 weeks. And that passes by Jupiter. I'm like, no, I'm not. So it took me 2 weeks to play another game, right? I go back up to another tournament in Chicago, and I hit pretty well. Then the next week, I take that off, and I fill in with the team. And then my second surgery comes the week right before Jupiter. And what actually happened is when they stuck the IV in my arm, they ended up giving me a blood clot. And that blood clot, it was called a SVT on my right arm. So what happened is the whole vein ended up think about a metal pipe. It was literally like a metal pipe in your vein. You could not move it without excruciating pain, right? So I was freaking out. I was like, well, I all I needed to know was, will I die if I play? And the chances were low because it was an SVT. Now it's a DVT and you have a blood clot and it's DVT. Do not play. You will probably die, right? you don't want to risk that. But it was an SVT. An SVT is more painful, but it's not as serious. Right. So that's all I needed to hear. So the very next day on Monday, after practice, I did something you're never supposed to do. I took blood thinning pills. I took like 8 of them when you're only supposed to take 2. And I started running for 30 minutes nonstop, trying to get my blood pumping. Did not help at all. It was terrible. I felt my heart was going to explode. So I ended up just fighting through it, right? I had 4 days before Jupiter. I was just fighting through it. Ended up getting on the flight. It was terrible. I actually ended up having to go to the hospital in Florida because the pain was so bad and it felt like it was going to burst. So I actually had to go to the hospital twice in Florida because the pain was so bad. So I ended up going to Jupiter, and my story actually gets told out to all around all the scouts, right? I have actually recently have had scouts come up to me and say, hey, so tell me more about what happened in Jupiter, right? Because no scout has ever heard somebody play baseball with a blood clot in their right arm, the one thing that they have to play baseball in, right? Now, I'm not going to lie. In Jupiter, I sucked. I was terrible. I tried playing baseball when your arm feels like it's going to explode. Not easy to do, right? But my story got around. The show of my character, how tough I am, that whole thing got around, right? And scouts ended up asking me, well, like, how did you do it? Why did you do it? And I was like, honestly, I just love the game. And my perspective is people have it out there so much worse than I do that at the very least I can play a game, right? There's people that don't know when they're going to eat. There's people that don't know where they're going to stay. And there's people that's losing their little loved ones, right? So at the end of the day, I thought in my mind, having a blood clot on my right arm is not the worst thing. And the very least I can do is play, right? with how much sacrifice my parents, my mom and dad, my 2 younger brothers have put into me, I'm not going to risk the biggest tournament of my life and not play, right? I'm going to give it my all. If I suck, I suck, which I did. Or if I do good, I do good, right? All I know is I'm going to give it my all. So then this is where we get into my whole big business financial aspirations. The week right after, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm working out at Planet Fitness, and 3 days before this, the blood clots finally starts loosening it up. It starts getting better, right? So I'm working at Planet Fitness. I was like, I got a great gym pump, honestly. So I mean, it's honest. I look up online how to become a model, right?
Yeah.
I clicked the first link. I ended up filling out a little thing. It's called John Casablancas. If you don't know what it is, one of the biggest model talent managements in the world. So I ended up filling it out. Didn't think anything of it. 3 days go by. One of the scouting directors called me and say, "Hey, we have this audition coming up on Saturday. If you want to do it, you can still do it. It's up to you." Right? So I was like, you know what? Why not? I did it. So I ended up passing the first audition. It was 8 out of 30 people that passed that audition.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's different classes going on. So there's about 300 total people for this one specific day auditioning. And then we move on to the second audition. It was a one-on-one with the scouting director. It's like an hour, 30-minute conversation. It was about everything in my life, right? It was all about, like, why do I want to do this? Will I put hard work in? Am I passionate? Like, who am I as a person? What are my values? What are my beliefs? Everything. Anything you could think of, they've probably asked the question. So then he ended up talking to the boss, the scouting, like the main scouting director,
Mm-hmm.
and tried onboarding me as another amateur model / actor. So, which they did, right? Now, the thing that people don't understand is no matter what, it's always going to be expensive. So they pay for the classes, the photo shoots, everything, right? The only thing I have to pay for is paying the John Casablancas talent coaches, right? Because those were the coaches that are actually teaching me, right? I have 30 lessons, and a total of it was like $2,100 something, $2,200 something.
Okay.
And I did not have the money for that, right? So I was like, well, I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna have to get a job, right? My parents aren't gonna pay for it. My parents have already paid off for baseball for me. They're not gonna pay for it, right? Yeah. So I ended up getting a job at Kroger. I hated it. The Kroger was terrible. No part of me liked it, but I did it. I did Kroger for about 3 months, right? And then I realized this is not working. Like, yeah, I'm paying off the classes, but I'm losing time for what really matters, which is baseball. I'm losing out time training. I'm always tired. I'm exhausted. This is not working out. So I need to find a way to fix this and figure this out, right? And also, it's like it's not helping me with my future financial goals, right? Because I want to be financially independent by the time I'm an early age, right? And I've wanted to start building my Roth at an early age, but if I'm doing Kroger, I'm just not going to be able to. And so I ended up talking to this guy. His name's Christian, actually. He's a guy out of Arizona. I had an hour phone conversation with him, and he's created like this game plan for me to start doing lessons, right? So I started doing lessons, and within the first week, I made $1,500. Within that first week, I quit Kroger. And then all the way up to date, that first month, I've made $4,500, right? Working maybe a total of like 10 lessons, but with all the bundles and everything. So now what I've started doing is I'm completely, instead of having to pay weekly, I completely paid off my modeling and acting. I don't even have to worry about that anymore. I show up when I want to, right? I'm now putting half of that, almost half, 1,000 into my Roth just for this year, right? So I'm putting all this money into my Roth. I'm investing on my future self, and it's stress-free, and I'm having way more fun doing this, right? I love giving lessons. So that's just a little brief background information of me to where I am now, and that's pretty much what it is.
Got you. So I want to go back. What exercises were you doing, bro, where you was just like, yeah, I look good, man. I got to be a model. Like, it had to be upper body. You was doing some curls and push-ups or what?
Oh, man. Oh, I was honestly doing pull-ups and abs, pull-ups and abs. So I have this thing on my phone to do every single day. And it's like when I can, I don't do it on baseball days, obviously. The one thing I do every single day is my core, right?
Yeah.
Because I believe in baseball, in sports in general, you gotta have a good core, right? Your core just has to be strong. It doesn't have to be like crazy 6-pack, 8-pack abs, but your core has to be strong for whatever you do in life. So I do core every single day, find time in the day to do it, right? So I do core, but that specific day, man, pull-ups. I was doing lots of pull-ups. I was doing back, and I actually ended up getting a great bicep pump. Forearms were pumping, my abs were pumping. I was like, dang, man, I look good. I should become a model. I need to monetize this. So
that's funny because a lot of people say it, but they don't actually get the phone and then sign up to be the model. So just to put that in perspective of like why I want to work with this guy, man, and why we're working is because if you think it, if you believe it, you're a guy that I could tell very quickly that's going to go get it. You're going to go get it. You're going to go put everything into that, and that's super cool. And now, like I say, you paid off all of the acting stuff, so that's cool. But you also talk about the Roth. Like, where did you first learn and hear about like having a Roth and retirement and all that? What made you want to get into that?
So everything, and just a little disclaimer, everything financially about me, I've learned on my own. I've learned through watching YouTube videos, looking up through ChatGPT, looking up Google, because I want to make money, right? I don't want to become broke. So I ended up learning a Roth about my junior year, right?
Okay.
I was like, when I turn 18, I need to start doing this. And what a Roth is, it's really the only non-taxable money you can get, right?
Yeah.
Non-taxable free money you can get. So you can put your Roth, and I use this app called SoFi. I put money into Roth, and SoFi, what it does is it automatically gets your forever stocks. I'm sure we'll get into some more into forever stocks. So, and then it puts it in there, and I don't touch it, right? I add as much money as I can, and it caps out at $7,500 a year, and it compounds interest. And the idea is if you do it from 18 to when you're 30, you'll make about $1 million, right? If you max out the Roth from 18 to 30, $1 million. That's the idea, right? So and I learned this through just watching YouTube videos, looking it up on ChatGPT, Google, my junior year. I was like, when I turn 18, I need to do a Roth. And that's when it really like opened my eyes to understand how important it is to not only invest in baseball, but invest in myself financially, right?
Yeah, so we'll get into all of everything that we want to get as far as the finances now. So what are we talking about as far as today's topic, right? How do we get rich? How do we stay rich? How do we grow the money? Well, the first thing is what Jeff has right here is the mindset, right? You have to literally change your mindset around money. Are you going to be a consumer, or are you going to be somebody that's able to produce? And when I say produce, I'm talking about like produce as far as like I got a Roth, I got a business. I'm able to produce money as I want to grow. Like some people, you have a 9-to-5, and that's cool. A couple of people will be able to get rich by being, an employee, but not many will. So if you make $100,000 before taxes, plus it's hard. Well, what me and Jeff want to do, we want to treat our businesses no different than what he's treating his baseball career. The better you are at baseball, the more money I should make. The better I am at business, the more money I should make, right? So that's the same thing. The more I invest in my Roth or into the stock market, the more I want to be able to, use for the compound interest. So what we try to tell our athletes, right, is remember, you're not just an athlete. Basically, we want you to have a mindset of saying, I'm a high income earner, but for a short period of time. So I get anywhere from 3 to 5, and if I'm lucky, 10 plus years, usually not more than 20, but some people, right? LeBron or Brady, but usually 2 to 3 for most people. And then we're everything in between, where I get that limited time to get 500,000, $1 million, 10 million, some people 20, and some people like Dak and the NBA guys, $70 million a year. So that's the first way as the athlete that we try to tell them to become rich. You got to keep the main thing. The main thing is if you want to become rich, let's go out, shift the mindset towards, hey, let's not just be the consumer and buy everything, but let's produce on the field, in the boardroom, and everywhere else, and take care of the main thing. Because even without investing, you can become rich because I can just go get a $300 million contract. Now, what we want to do to stay rich is we want to invest, right? And that's where SoFi, I like to use Acorns, and there's many other apps that come in that can do the same things, but you're able to put that money in, but you don't have to go in there and be like, oh, I'm a day trade, or I'm going to buy this stock and then I'm going to trade this one and I'm going to sell this one. Like, we want to get into stocks like a forever stock, which would be a Google, an Amazon, and stuff like Nike, where these people are going to be around for longer than we're here, right? That's why it's called the forever stocks. Forever, since you're on this earth, we're thinking Microsoft, Google, Nike, and all these. And once again, none of this is financial advice to you, but we're giving you what we've done and what we know to be true. So we want to get into apps like that. Now, like on mine, and just like Jeff on SoFi, Acorns and SoFi, I'm able to put in a certain amount of money every day, every week, every month, however I want to do it. When you put in a certain amount of money let's say I do it every Monday, that's called a DCA, a dollar cost average, right? So that allows you to catch the highs of the market, but also the lows of which we want. And the way to become rich faster is to not just keep putting in chunks thinking you're going to time the market, is to just know if it's $10, $50, $100, $20, or $1,000 every Monday or every once of the month, whatever your day is, put in your $100, put in your $50, put in your $20. Consistency will always win in the market, right? And that's what, and we're talking about being in good stocks, right? We're talking about S&P, we're talking about Roths and all that. So a big thing to understand is time in the market will 100% beat timing the market. So spend time in the market. The longer you're in the market, the better chance you have to win, especially if you're into investing in like the S&P and all that stuff, because it's going to be the top companies and you're always going to be good. You're going to get a historical 8 to 10 to 12 return, right? Compared to being like, oh, I heard about this company and they're supposed to do 1,000-time return by the end of the year. A lot of times that goes to zero and you lost all your money, right? So those are the things that we want to understand is first, as the athlete, to get rich. Let's do it the most common way to get rich as an athlete, through your contract, right? But you have to understand that contract's not going to last of continuing to get that amount of money over the next 20 to 50 years. It's usually going to be 2 to 3. And some people, like I said, get anything in between the 3 and the 20, right? So after that, the next thing we want to do, so we'll ask Jeff this question, right? So you go get drafted and you get, I'm going to give you a $2 million. You go crazy this year, right? You're the number one catcher in Texas, but we going to go to Jeff has a great year and becomes the number one catcher in the nation and actually gets drafted in the 3rd round, right? And let's just say we get a $2 million signing bonus. What's the first thing that you want to do with your $2 million?
Instantly, I'm maxing out my Roth. I'm going to do the back doorway. And then I'm going to create an LLC, put about 1.5 of that, and just start investing my real estate properties, right? I'm going to invest heavily in real estate and get into that big aspect. So I'm going to put about 1.5 in there. I'm going to put about 200,000 into the stocks, and then that 300,000 left, that's for me to spend.
Yep. And so what Jeff is talking about here is building assets and not building his public appearance of, oh, look at the cars I got, look at the clothes I got, look at all the trips I can go on. Because once again, if Jeff sits back and puts the money in the LLC to then start investing into real estate, like he said, he's going to max out the Roth, he'll be able to invest here. I don't need all that money in my bank account just to spend. 300,000 plus, once I start investing in this real estate, depending on what it is and what you're investing in, we can start, let's say if we go rental homes, right? Now we start using that door-to-door money that we get for rent as mailbox money. Y'all got to give me my money at the end of every month, the beginning of every month, 1st and the 15th. And now let's just say I got 3 houses and they all generate $1,000 of rent for me on my profit, right? That's how we're going to use those numbers. Now I got $3,000. Well, now I have my MLB contract or my NBA contract, NFL contract. Plus I got $3,000. Well, if I'm going to do anything, Let's spend that $3,000 on some of the leisure things of like, okay, I got a $500, car note plus my insurance. I'm gonna eat with that money if I want to take a little trip. And once I spend that $3,000, that's my leisure money, but I'm not touching my contract money, right? So that's the thing is we want to buy investments. We want to buy stocks. We want to buy land. We want to buy businesses with the money, fellas. We don't want to buy appearances with the money because that does nothing for you because the car will depreciate, the clothes will tear, and all that. So that's the biggest thing. When you get money, we want to use our money to attract and buy more money. We don't want to sit there and and I'm not saying don't buy cool things. Go out there and buy a Raw Power t-shirt, man. Right? Go do that. Go do that. Don't buy anything, but you got to be smart about what you buy, right? So that's a really, really good thing is, once again, that's why I have him as one of our clients because I'm not telling him what to say. These are things that he's already said, and I'm asking him questions for y'all to see and how he's thinking. Now, after you get that big contract, right, we've already talked about investing it. And then we talked about the next thing that we didn't want to do, right, was the lifestyle inflation, right? It's buying the cars, the jewelry, mom. I tell people, if you want to help mom with a house, probably pay off the house that she's already in, especially on contract one. Don't buy her a new house. Pay off the first house that she's in because you might have 100,000, 50,000, 20,000, depending on how far they're on. Now they're free and clear, and it's a burden off of them. Now, when you go get the second contract in all of sports, right, after your 4 years, and you do well, now a $500,000 house isn't that much when I just signed for, $80 million. But when I just signed for $2 million and I bought mom a $500,000 house, that's a fourth gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure we stay away from the lifestyle inflation. We want to build our assets, but like Jeff also talked about, was getting the real estate, his portfolio and his investments, maybe buy into a company, start a business, because we don't want to put all of our money into one thing, right? I can't be like, I'm about to put 1.5, even though I put it in my LLC, which is big, that he mentioned, because you get the tax write-offs, right, with your businesses, but also you have the liability, right? It's a limited liability corporation. So therefore, I'm protected. Y'all can come for this 1.5, but let's just say I did have another 10 million somewhere else. That's my personal. Y'all got to come for this LLC money. So that's huge. We talk to all of our athletes about getting those LLCs and protecting yourself and giving you, the benefits that happens with that. But diversity is super, super big when it comes to investing because, right, Jeff talks big about real estate. But in 2008, we seen real estate can slap you in the face, just like before COVID, real estate shot up and everybody was buying these houses and selling these houses and back and forth. But then some people bought a house during the COVID times and bought it for $400,000. And then after that, the market dropped, and now that house that they're in is worth $300,000. Right? So sometimes it just sucks to be in real estate. But the biggest thing is you had other investments, and that's cool. So now let's talk about planning for your career after your career. So we don't want to wait till, okay, I got 6 months left in my farewell tour to retire. Now let's start. So what is going to be your secondary business? It's real estate, right? We talked about that. Do you plan to, let's say, if you do 10 years in the league, to stick with the acting, the modeling? What would be like your dream scenario of not just investing in your real estate, but would you like to do something that you do on a day-to-day? Because sometimes you can invest in that, and that's just, like I said, mailbox money. What would be your dream second career?
So my dream, and this is, let's say I make it really big financially, right? I want to become a developer. I want to be able to, especially in North Texas with how much is booming. And like, for example, like Fate isn't a big place, but it's starting to become bigger, right? All these places around, they're going to keep growing. Within like 25 years, they're going to be cities like Forney, Rowlett, soon cities like Forney in like 25 years are going to become like Frisco, right? So I want to eventually become a developer and create these whole cities. And that honestly I would love that. And my acting and modeling will also coincide with that, right? I got to be able to market that place. I got to be able to market my whole development properties. And by doing that, I already know my acting and modeling will come and coincide with that. Now, it would be awesome if after my career's done, I land some movie gigs, some movie roles or something like that, or some TV shows. Like if I can land on Landman or stuff like that, that would be also a dream to come true, right? But if I make it really big financially, I want to eventually become a big developer. And then something else spiritually that I want to do is I want to build churches all around the country, right? But what these churches would do is every single night there's free food, right? Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you believe in God, right? I will provide free food, right? I will also provide a gym that is free. Anybody can work out in, right? And obviously, I don't know how to do that at the moment, how to make that actually work, but I do know if I make it big enough in the future that I will be able to do that, and I'll have the resources to be able to do that. So those are my three big things that I really want to get into. I want to become a developer. I want to hopefully become like some movie or TV show, getting some of those stuff. I want to build churches around the country.
That's fire, bro. Like, I know with talking with you and then being able to, talk with mom that y'all are big on helping people, big on helping the underprivileged, the people that don't have the voices. And that's huge, right? Because I think too many athletes go through their career and they spend money on literally like being realistic at the strip club, on the girls, on the jewelry, on the car, on just amazing trips in the moment, right? Just these amazing trips. Like I've never been there. And then it's like, it really wasn't that amazing. Like I just was out there just doing stuff. And then they wish that they would have gave back to their community, giving back to people that needed it, people that look like them, people that don't look like them, people that wish they could be in better situations. So I'm glad that you're having, those thoughts already, because everything seems amazing in the moment when you haven't done it. But then once you did it, then you sit back, you're like, man, why did I do that? Like, I just wasted a lot of money. I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of opportunity. And I wasted a lot of resources. So, I'm glad that you're already thinking like that. And I'll tell people, always still live your life and have fun. But think about what you're doing. Don't just do it in the moment because you have money. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it, right? So what another thing that I tell my athletes to think about when having all this money, right, is to think about percentages. And this isn't just athletes, but this is people in general, right? So let me give you an example. People will be like, man, and we'll use you for example. Let's say you get the $100 million contract. Man, Jeff is so dumb. He made, matter of fact, we'll go with the 100 million, 10-year, 100 million, right? So you're making 10 million a year. Jeff just bought that Ferrari for $300,000. And I was like, okay, cool. 300,000, Jeff made 10. But this is what I tell people. We got to start thinking of money in percentages and not whole numbers, right? Because when they say Jeff made a dumb purchase of getting a Ferrari for $300,000 and he made 10 million, but let's just say I was a teacher. I was making $50,000 to $55,000 depending on what year it was. When I just go get a regular F-150, that costs $50,000 to $60,000, right? So what I tell people is Jeff just spent less than 3-5% of his yearly income on a car. You spent over 100% of your yearly income on a car. So to make Jeff's car purchase equivalent to your car purchase, Jeff would have had to buy a $10 million car. And people are like, wow. It's like, yeah, you worked the whole year to buy that car. Jeff worked a game and bought his car. So he had 3 hours worth of work that day and got paid that on a game check. So that's one thing I tell athletes to think of as you're buying stuff and people, to start thinking of it as percentages. How much is this of my income? So I went and bought a house, and let's just say it's a house for me to live in. I'm not Airbnb-ing it out. I'm not renting it out. So yeah, people are like, oh, houses are great investments. A lot of time I tell people, no, not unless you're really using it as a rental, Airbnb, or, you're doing something with it. Because if I buy a $10 million house and I'm living in it and I'm paying the bills that also come with it and then the taxes, it's more money gone. Because even when I sell it for $13 million in years down the line, I've probably spent $3 more million. So the best most people do is get their money back on houses that they live in most of the time, right? Unless they're able to get in it really quick and then get out of it. So I tell people, think about it. You just made $10 million, but you bought the $10 million house, so your whole year was on this house, right? So all your money is white, but you did get the car. You still got to live. Mama, you're still taking care of her. So you've used too much of the percentage of money you made that year on one single purchase that's not bringing you money back, right? So that's something big that I try to tell everybody, but really my athletes. Think of money in percentages and not whole numbers. Because once again, if I tell you Ronaldo just bought a $10 million house, he made literally $275 million this year. That's like us buying a $30,000 house, right? So once again, for Ronaldo's percentage, he's able to do that. He would literally be able to buy a $10 million house every month of the year and still only spend $120 million of the $275. He comes out a lot better than a person buying a $200,000 house that literally makes $40,000 a year, right? So that's something big. And so going into that, like, since you've made you said 4,500 and, very, very quickly by, starting your training business, what was the biggest purchase you've made since then?
Paying off my acting classes.
Okay.
I was thinking at that time is 1,200, 1,400.
Mm-hmm.
Anything other than that, I've put every single time I get a new invoice in, half of that goes straight to the Roth.
Yep.
The other half goes straight to helping pay off my mom's debt, right?
Okay.
And then I keep a percentage of that just for my own to spend on food, gas, your daily living expenses, because my investment, my preparation, my savings, so to speak, is all going to my Roth, right?
Yeah. Well, 100%. And that's fire, bro. Like, keep that mindset. And like I said, as you get older, there'll be things that obviously you want, things that you want to do. But like for me, like I was grinding. Like when I was in college, I never took spring breaks. I saved all my little money that I got from my scholarship check. Like I'm not about to spend, a week out there after, and it takes us so long to get the little money that we got. But I will say, as you're going through all this and we're talking about those percentages, some people don't like to do a percentage. So I say, okay, cool. Well, let's do another way, right? So we give them another way. This is another thing for the regular person and the athlete to think about. I make $10 an hour. I want to buy a pair of shoes for $100. You have to think as the person. Is 10 hours of my life working a job that I might not like, probably don't like, worth buying those shoes? How many times will I wear those shoes? Do I really like those shoes? Is it a one-day occasion shoe, right? And that's kind of like what you think about. Like now for you, it might be a bigger purchase. Dang, man, I really want that decked out G-Wagon that's only 10 of them in the world. You're like, okay, shoot, I got to play this amount of games, but I'm only on a 1-year deal right now. Is that worth it, right? That's how you have to think. Like, dang, I really got to pay 12 games to go buy this jet that I like. It don't sound like a lot, but 12 games is 3/4 of the NFL season and you're on a 1-year deal. So you had to go through the almost 75% of the year. You only got 1 year guaranteed of this money if they don't cut you in the NFL, because it's not all guaranteed. They could have cut you because you had the last 4 games bad. So that's how I tell people to start thinking. Thinking that percentage, or think of how much of my life or what I do to get this money is worth it. I make $10 an hour. My friend asked me, do I want to go to Cancun? That's a $2,500 trip between the plane, the eating, all the stuff we want to do. I got to work 250 hours when I only work 4 hours. So I got to work how many months? And remind you, this is before tax money, right? That's if I got to keep every dollar I make. So those are the small things that when we talk about the mindset, it helps you put things in perspective of your purchases, right? How do I purchase something and it's going to take me literally 60 days of work, and 60 days at 8 hours? Like that's a lot of my life for something that I'm going to do for 2 days, right? But things to help you, right, is what we talk about, the stock market. Very good to be able to help you. When you have enough money, getting into real estate, like you said. Also, when we talk about starting those businesses, that's how you start buying your time back. When I'm sitting in Mexico and I'm sitting in Spain or different parts of Europe, even though I'm not there, I have trainers that are going to pay me. We have a dental office. I had a trucking company. I have investments. So at least when I'm not there, I might not make the max that I would have made working, obviously, on a day-to-day. But instead of making, let's say in that week, $3,000, at least I still make $1,800. And I think that's the big thing why we do what we do and want to do, because it's like, I do want to travel the world. I do want to do these cool things, but not until I set up the systems in place to then say, okay, it warrants me traveling because I still am making money on the back end without having to be there. So you're doing the development. We talked about the acting. We talked about the modeling. We talked about the churches, the gym. And you're talking about all the good things of investing and mom and all that. When you do make it and you do, let's say, get the $50 million, what are the cool things that you want to do? Like, what is the car you want to buy? Where would you like to live? What type of vacations would you like to take mom on? Like,
I've always had a dream for a Bugatti. I know it sounds basic, but I've always thought Bugattis, the Super Sport Chiron exclusively, is a pretty cool car. And that's my dream car, honestly. Yeah. That's a car I want. And house, I'm not too big on a big house. Just something that's nice neighborhood, something that has a lot of land I can build on. Okay. But vacations, I want to travel the world. I want to take my mom to Argentina, Greece, the Switzerland Alps. I mean, anywhere you can think of, like go to all these top tourist destinations, like Japan, like anywhere. That would be a dream of mine. I just want to travel. So honestly, and also I would like to add on it, another big thing that I want to get into more is mindset, right? Like you're going to have so many haters. You have so many people tell you it's not going to be worth it. And I'm just going to let you know, the majority of people are going to feed into those haters, right? The majority of people are going to believe what those haters say and quit. They're going to quit before they even give themselves a chance, right? And I like to give some examples just off my lessons business, right? I had people saying, this is stupid. It's not going to work. Well, within a week, it shut them all up, right? $1,500. But if I did what most people do and listen to them, listen to their best friends and quit, right? Then I wouldn't have made any of this money, right? I would still be working at Kroger. I would still be miserable, right? And it's very important to realizing that it does literally not matter what anybody else says about you. It only matters what you think about yourself and what you can become, right? 100%. And that's so important. It is so important to have that belief in yourself, to surround yourself with like-minded people like you, DP. Like, I mean, we're both big business gurus. Like, we love business. We love, obviously, sports and everything, right? I surrounded myself with you, right? Like-minded interests, right? So it's also very important to start to go away from that group that's always telling you no, pulling you down, and finding your safe space group, right? Like my mom, my dad, right? They're always in my corner. So it's very important to not give up, and you're going to fail. You have to understand business, you're going to fail, is to not give up when you fail. Same thing with sports, right? This is why I believe catching and baseball is so applicable to my everyday life, right? I can be a Hall of Fame hitter if I succeed 3 out of 10 times. As a catcher, if I throw them out into major leagues every 5 out of 10 times, I'm a Hall of Fame catcher, right? And it's being able to fail and succeed and not listening to the naysayers, right? And being able to work on myself, build on myself, and not listen to all the haters, because most people, and it's just the truth, most people listen to the haters. Most people want to do the cool thing and watch other people succeed and say and hate on the people succeeding, right? Yeah. When at the very end of the day, they already know they would want to be in their shoes and they would give it all to give it to their shoes, but they really won't give it all to be in their shoes because they don't actually know what they had to go through. Like Logan Paul, right? I remember when he was younger, Logan Paul used to be clowned on all the time. Now, I don't know one person that would, at my school, that would not want Logan Paul's life, right? Logan Paul said all this to all the naysayers, right? Did not let it affect him. Look at where he's now, right? Just sold a Pokemon Pikachu card for like $14 million. I mean, like, so it's mindset is very important, and not listening to all the naysayers and haters. Very important.
100%. I just got done watching Logan Paul go to the Diamond Gym. I'm sure that you've seen Diamond Gym since you were into that. And then that goes into his mindset, but also their mindset, right? People talk about how they work out and this and that. But once again, like they said, you don't have to like how we work out or how we do it or how we train, but it's a mindset when you come in here. And that literally led them into a prime example of getting a prime brand deal. So now, because people talked about them, but they didn't listen, people talked about them and they grinded harder. People talked about them, they went back to the drawing board and kept getting better. Now they're working beside a Logan Paul in a company that's going to be worth billions and billions of dollars down the line, and they're continuing to grind and grow. Mr. Beast, people used to talk about him when he was getting one subscriber. Now the dude gets about one subscriber every millisecond, right? Because now every day it's millions of guys coming through across his channels and subscribing. And that's the thing is, if you grind, like when I started TRPT, I have friends that were literally like, yeah, that's probably not going to work. What are you doing? Because entrepreneurship wasn't that cool in 2013. Now it's cool for everybody to talk about it, right? But now I'm able to look back and look and be like, yeah, I did it. Because if I would have listened to all those people, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you. When I had seen the opportunity to work with young men and young women to help them grow their businesses, help them grow their brand, help them grow financially, spiritually, mentally, all that. I wanted to do it because I was like, there's going to be a lot of these kids that I work with that are going to have a lot of money, but are they going to know how to use it? Are they going to know how to grow it? Are they going to know how to protect it? And that's the big thing that we want to do is not only keep it and protect it, but grow it, because at some point, if it doesn't grow, just because you held on, you can get a $20 million contract. And let's just say you didn't have to spend anything while you were in the league and you had 20 million still in your bank account. But what happens when you no longer play in the league and now you only are spending and you didn't grow that money or start anything? So it doesn't matter how much you made if it's not Ronaldo $275 million a year, when at the end of the day, let's say you made 20 million, but you're still 30 years old. You made it from 23 to 20 to 30. Now let's, Lord help us that we live till 90. What are you going to do for 60 years? Right? Especially if you still have that house, have that car, taking care of mama. Now it's different if you had a low-level lifestyle and stayed, low key, but most people aren't once they get that money. So if you want to keep that lifestyle, you have to live nice, great, just not extravagant, but I still needed that money to make more money. So now I can still pay these bills and I can still live the life I wanted to. And that was something big that I wanted to do back when I first started, just training is not only helping people on the field, but off the field, especially as I learned, like, wow, I worked for 4.5 years, from 24 to about 29, 4.5 years of teaching. And I haven't worked for anybody else since. I'm 36 now. So 7 years that I've been just doing my own thing, making my own schedule. Just did a career day 2 days ago with the young kids. And I was like, hey, I'm able to be here in the middle of the day because I don't teach anymore. Like when I used to teach, they'd be like, hey, can you come talk to our kids because we know you have a time. Like, hey, I'm on the clock, bro. I can't be taking my off days to, go to your school. I might as well be, if I'm going to be at a school, I might as well be at my school. So now I can say, hey, I work 1 hour a day. I work 12 hours a day. I get to do what I want to. So that was what I wanted to do, is change my mindset so I could set my own schedule, set my own days, set my own hours, and do the things that I want to do, and also help the people that I am able to help, right? And can take the capacity to help. Another way to stay rich, and this will be our last way for the athlete, and it's the best way to stay rich. What do you think that is? If you know what he doesn't know, I'm just going to see if he can guess the best way to stay rich.
Best way to stay rich is invest your money.
Yep, but I'm going to take you one step further. Before we even invest the money, the best way to stay rich is say no.
Oh, well,
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Mama, we ain't getting the $3 million house. We getting the 250 and we in a nice neighborhood. Well, now not 250. Let's say the 500 and we in a nice neighborhood. Friend that wants to start the Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon arcade because everybody likes it now. No, I'm not investing in your idea. I'm putting it in the stock market in my Roth. Hey, girlfriend that wants to start the beauty salon, but she can't curl her own hair. No, we're not doing. That's the biggest thing, and it sucks. But everybody learns. The quicker you say no, the the faster you learn to say no, the easier it is to say no. And I'm not saying tell mama no about everything. I'm not telling, best friend that you grew up with from 6 years old and y'all are 25 now, and you know his car engine just blew out, and you know he's a grinder and he's a dog and he just truly needs it. But at some point, the yeses is what take the money from you. So yes, the investing matters, but you won't have any money to invest if you keep saying, yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll help. Because when taxes, mama, daddy, best friend, cousin, my car, my lifestyle, my wife, the money's going out too many different ways, and I'm only bringing it in through baseball. I can't have 8 ways that it's going out, but one way that it's coming in. So that's the biggest thing that I tell young athletes, and it's going to suck. And that's why I also tell them, you don't tell them no. Hey, Jeff, can I borrow $20,000? Hey, bro, I don't deal with that. My mom deals with all the requests. Ask her. You know who is really easy to say no? Mama will tell people no faster than any. Take that out of your hands, because now mama don't feel bad for protecting her baby.
Yep, that's
you
right.
feel bad for not taking care of your homeboy. So now he'd be like, bro, I don't deal with that. I just couldn't. It was too much of a burden on me. That's mom. And mama will wear it on her shoulders gladly. No, everybody gets a no. She gonna be like, Oprah, but that's the biggest way. And that's the number one thing. You have to be able to get a system of where you can say, I make, let's just say, $1 million a year. And what my best NFL and pro guys do it this way. Depending on what they make, they sort of set a certain percentage aside. And that could be, and it's usually a very small percentage for what they make. But let's say I make $1 million. I'm going to set $50,000 aside every year to help whoever. Mama gets to say the yeses and the no's. So let's just say Uncle Johnny needed a new house because it burnt down and he needed a $50,000 renovation. And mama said yes. Well, everybody else, y'all out of luck until next year. Hopefully I get a $10 million and we can bump it up to, $150,000. But that's the thing. If you do feel the obligation to say yes, set a hard cap on the yes money. And when it's gone, and we renew at the beginning of the year. And mama gets to take care of that.
I like that. That's very smart. And it's all about creating boundaries. You got to have your personal boundaries. Like, for example, like, I know it's jokes, but all these kids are saying, can you hand me some of this when you make it? Can I have some of this when you make it? And it, obviously, it's like, are you going to remember me when you make it? Or maybe you're just going to follow me on Instagram when you make it, right? And it's just like, it starts off small like that, but when you actually make it, that's actually going to start happening, right? Yeah, it's all jokes and giggles now. You say, yeah, bro, I got you, whatnot. But when it actually starts coming in, you got to have the boundaries and you got to be man enough to say no, right? You got to, or be smart, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my mom control that kind of finances, hand it over to my mom, because my mom's going to say no 99% of the time.
Exactly. She'll know, okay, what do you need? Oh, you need 500. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know Aunt Susie. We kind of know something. Jeff, we gave Aunt Susie 500. She lost the job. She had to pay the daycare bill. Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, no. Hey, Uncle Billy just asked, can we open up a barbecue restaurant? I told him no fast. Okay, Mom. Right? It's going to make sense because she wants to protect you and she still wants to do right by friends, family, and all that. But I'm not about to put my son under by trying to, protect y'all. And what I tell people is, hey, are you going to remember me when you make it? Yeah, I remember our friendship. If you want me to remember you and let you get some, be like LeBron's people to him. Become an agent. And then show me your value. Go become a screenwriter. I want to be on TV. Go show me that you can go get me brand deals. And I have no problem giving you money for what you worked for. But I'm not just giving you money because I knew you in elementary school. If you work and you're like, wow, I remember this kid. We went to Rowlett together. This dude is an amazing lawyer. And I need, to get some stuff done because now I'm opening up this gym. And these churches that are free, I need this guy's expertise. I have no problem paying you because I know you. I know you're a hard worker. You made something of yourself. Now it makes sense, but I'm not just giving you the money just to give it to you. So yeah, I got you. but make sure, just like I became something, you became something, so it's mutually beneficial.
And another big careers is HVAC, right? Always need an HVAC guy. Always need a plumber. Always need a car mechanic guy, right? Let's say I have a buddy, like my brother is actually the perfect example. My middle brother wants to become a car mechanic. If he does follow through with that path, that's where all my money's going. My money is going to my middle brother, right? I don't even need to know anybody. That's my car mechanic guy, right?
Yeah.
I have friends that wants to get into HVAC, wants to get into plumbing, right? Well, if they actually make it HVAC into plumbing, well, you know if they reach out where I'm going to go, yeah, I'll give you my money, right? You're an HVAC guy. Come be my HVAC guy, right? So it's like stuff like that. Also, like you can still be loyal to the people that you were with in high school, but they got to still show their worth. They got to show that they're just not slack offs, just asking for money because they spent it all at the casino, right?
Facts, man. No, and we're gonna let y'all go because me and Jeff, like I said, this is what you do. Like we're about 55 minutes in. I planned on this being about 30, 35 minutes, but I know once we get to talking, this could be 3 hours. So I truly appreciate it, bro. And like when you talk and just when you come across the screen to people, I'm quite sure they're going to see the maturity, the young business mind that you already have, the places that you're going to go regardless of how far baseball takes you, where you're going to just go as a young man into a older man one day just doing this business stuff, bro. I salute you. I'm proud for you to be, a part of what we're doing with the Brand Athletes, man. And I hope that we can continue to get more brand athletes with your mindset in the things that you're doing. So salute to you, bro. Make sure that y'all follow Jeff. Tell them where they can follow you at.
So my Instagram, Jeffrey_Claycomb, or if you go to TikTok, I just Jeff Claycomb, anything like that. And if you go to Twitter, Jeff Claycomb16.
Perfect. So y'all make sure y'all follow him. We're trying to get his branding up. We're going to get his marketing right. He's going to be a dog on the field. He's going to be a bigger dog off the field. So remember, if you watch this interview, remember the name because, shoot, I don't know if you'll ever hear his name on any baseball as far as in the MLB. We hope, but I guarantee you'll hear him very, very loudly as a businessman down the line because the way that baseball works and sports works, there's still politics. There's still a lot of luck of not injury. The way that the mind works and the way that his mindset works right now and the gifts that he already has, guarantee you he's going to be successful in that. There's politics, but there ain't no politics when you grind like you do in this business world, right? Like I said, I've seen guys that were better than Jeff at catcher before. Ain't in the top 50. There's guys that's in front of Jeff in catching right now, not better than him, but there's things that go into rankings and scholarships and just draft picks and all that. This business world and where his mind is, guaranteed success, and I'm willing to put a lot on what he's going to be able to do, not only on the field, but especially off the field. So once again, thank you, Jeff, for being able to jump on here, give wisdom for not only myself, because I love hearing you talk and learn from you, but everybody that's going to watch you. So I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you too, DP. Thank you for letting me come on.
Yes, sir, man. Have a good night, bro.
You too.